Discover the incredible strength of a little girl, how one party brought transformative smiles. Lucy stood in the backyard, her heart racing as she clutched her paintbrush, surrounded by her vibrant creations. They were her secret, her escape, and a whisper of hope in an often gray world. But as the rain cloud loomed overhead, doubt engulfed her spirit. What if no one showed up? What if her neighbors, with their busy lives and whispered judgments, turned away from the artistry that spoke of her struggles? She hesitated, the weight of her father's unemployment pressing down like a heavy mist, suffocating every ounce of excitement she had dared to foster. Her mother had been skeptical, practically rolling her eyes when Lucy announced her plans for an art show and tell. "Honey, do you really think anyone cares?" she had murmured, enveloped in her own worries. The echoes of that doubt gnawed at Lucy as she meticulously arranged her makeshift gallery, every piece telling a story of longing, dreams, and the remnants of laughter that had once filled their home. Inside her, a storm of contradictions raged. Could this really be the moment her hidden talent would finally be recognized? Or was she setting herself up for yet another disappointment? As she hung her brightest piece, the landscape that had captivated her art class anxiety arced through her. Would anyone even notice? Would the whispers of judgment from those accustomed to seeing struggles overshadow the joy she hoped to share? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the minutes ticked away, the sky darkened, each drop of potential rain echoing in Lucy's chest like a drum of despair. Would her neighbors even want to step through the gate? They were used to a different kind of art, expensive and polished, not the raw and vulnerable colors pouring from her heart. She imagined them laughing at her in their whispers, the laughter turning into a deafening silence as they turned away. Lucy tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, her hands trembling slightly as she adjusted a picture. She looked at the landscape once more, the green hills, the rolling clouds, wondering if anyone would see the beauty she saw, or if it would remain buried like her dreams beneath the weight of their collective indifference. Her breathing quickened as thunder rumbled far off, maybe in response to her own internal storm. Perhaps her secret would remain just that, a secret lost to the shadows of a life too burdened to let light in. But just when her enthusiasm began to erode, a knock at the gate echoed like a heartbeat in the silence. Lucy's heart quickened at the possibility it could be anything, anyone. Did that knock signal hope, or would it slam the door on her aspirations before they even had a chance to blossom? She clutched her brush tighter, her eyes flitting towards the gate, desperate for an answer, wondering what would happen if this day, against all odds, truly changed everything. Lucy inhaled sharply, the sound of that knock triggering a collision of hope and anxiety within her. She squeezed her paintbrush until her fingers tingled, her internal conflict boiling to the surface. This was not simply an exhibition, it was a reckoning. Would she, at long last, step into a world where her art mattered? Grappling with her thoughts, Lucy weighed her options. She could remain hidden, lingering in her sanctuary of fears, or she could open the gate and face whatever awaited her. The impending judgment loomed as oppressively as the storm clouds above. With a decisive motion, Lucy took a step towards the gate. Her heart raced with each beat, a mix of dread and exhilaration. She could hear murmurs inside her head, her mother's skepticism, the whispers of disappointing others, and they threatened to drown out any spark of courage. But deep within, there was something more powerful. It was the glimmer of possibility that her art could reach someone, that it could connect with another soul. As she gripped the gate handle, a moment of resolve surged through her. She opened it slowly, revealing Mrs. Thompson, a neighbor she had always thought to be too busy for anything beyond polite nods on the sidewalk. Mrs. Thompson stood there, holding a beautiful bouquet of wildflowers, her expression a mosaic of surprise and curiosity. "I saw the colors from the street, and I just had to come see what's happening," she said, her eyes widening as they skimmed over the paintings. Lucy's breath caught in her throat. In that moment, she realized that vulnerability could breed connection. The wildflowers in Mrs. Thompson's hands mirrored the vibrancy of her artwork, a gesture echoing Lucy's own desire for understanding. "Thank you for coming," Lucy managed, her voice steadier than she felt. As she stepped aside, the initial hesitation ebbed, replaced by a surge of warmth and recognition of this small victory. As more neighbors filtered through the gate, each bringing their own spark of intrigue and humility, Lucy began to breathe easier. She found herself explaining her work, weaving narratives into each brushstroke, standing a little taller with every compliment thrown her way. The fear that had clung to her began to peel away, layer by layer. But then she saw them, a group of girls from her school who had often taunted her about her artwork being childish. Their laughter from the past hung in the air like an unwelcome ghost. As one of them nudged the other, Lucy felt her pulse quicken. Would they be here to belittle her again, or had they come to see what she had created? The laughter stopped short, shifting to a silence that engulfed the space between them. Lucy's heart raced anew. This was an uncharted territory, presenting an unforeseen challenge she had not anticipated. Should she confront them directly, or rise above their judgments with grace? It was a defining moment, a crossroads where she could either reaffirm her identity or allow their ridicule to consume her spirit once more. As the voices of approval swirled around her like arms of comfort, Lucy found herself anchored by the realization that this was her moment of truth. The time had come to face, she thought, her determination hardening. With a deep breath, she steeled herself for whatever would follow, realizing that her art was not merely for display, it was a testament to her journey, her resilience, and a reflection of her soul. But as she prepared for confrontation, a sudden clap of thunder echoed ominously above, and Lucy wondered if the storm that threatened to rain on her art show might also wash away her resolve. What would she choose to confront? Would it be her past or the hesitant shadows in her heart? The air crackled with tension, and Lucy could feel the collective gaze of the crowd shift. Those familiar faces, once sources of torment, now stood before her as embodiments of judgment. The girls exchanged glances, smirking, and a wave of insecurity washed over her. Yet, she could not let their presence undermine the progress she had made. In that critical moment, she rallied her thoughts, forcing aside the echoes of their past ridicule. "Why are you here?" she asked, trying to mask her uncertainties with directness, her voice faltering only slightly. One of the girls stepped forward, her posture defensive but her tone perhaps softer than Lucy had expected. "We just came to see." "See what?" "That art belongs to grown-ups." Lucy's own words surprised her, sharp yet liberating. It felt good to wield her voice, her weapon of choice. "Actually, we wanted to know what you've been working on. Some of the things we've heard they sound interesting," another girl said, this time with an edge of sincerity. A flicker of something unexpected traversed Lucy's chest. Was surprise a form of empowerment? She took a breath, initially resistant to their indirect compliments, yet curious about the potential for growth hidden beneath their words. Interesting can mean a lot of things. What do you really think about it? She pressed, her heart racing as she confronted their expectations. The first girl shrugged, "I guess we didn't think it was serious. But now it seems like it is." In that moment, Lucy glimpsed a valuable realization. Their hesitation mirrored her own insecurities, their discomfort reflected her own journey. This revelation provided a newfound sense of power, the understanding that both she and her peers were still learning and evolving. She was no longer the frightened girl who stood at the sidelines, desperate for approval. With resolve anchored, she decided to redirect the conversation. "You see the colors, the emotions. Something I wanted to express." The tone in the air shifted. Curiosity overpowered the initial disdain, sparking genuine interest. "Show us what you mean, then. Explain it to us," the third girl requested, vulnerability evident in her request. Lucy hesitated, but instinct propelled her forward. This was an opportunity to enlighten others, to share not just her art but the compelling narratives behind it, her own story woven into the very fabric of each brushstroke. "I'd love to." And thus began a captivating exchange. As Lucy illuminated the meanings behind her paintings, she was not merely explaining techniques but offering a piece of her soul. Her nervousness transformed into fervor, a sudden release of all the pent-up emotion and stories she had carried. With every word, she bridged the chasm between past judgments and present openness. Laughter mixed with tentative praise began to envelop her, turning the air electric. The power of connection was palpable, allowing her to influence the way others perceived her, their perceptions evolving into something more compassionate and inclusive. But the rumbling outside persisted, the storm's presence ever looming. It was a physical reminder that while she was making strides in personal connection, outer forces still threatened her emotional safety. Yet here, in this sanctuary of sharing, Lucy realized that perhaps the real storm didn't lie in the dark clouds overhead but in the shadows of her doubts creeping back. As she poured out her passion, she noticed a friend from her past lingering at the edge of the crowd. Will this encounter lead to deeper connections or reignite old fears? Lucy felt the heat of uncertainty crowding back in, wrapped within the spark of newfound courage she had ignited. She met her friend's eyes. What was their reaction to her transformation? The moment of truth was far from over. Would this new window of vulnerability open even wider, or close like a curtain over her past fears? Lucy's heart raced, not just from the adrenaline of sharing her art, but from the unexpected gaze of her old friend, Jenna. It had been years since their paths had crossed, yet the familiarity of their shared history felt like a heavy anchor. Did Jenna remember their past? The laughter, the fights, the moments that defined their adolescent years? Or had time and distance reshaped the narrative into something entirely different? As her audience continued to engage, Lucy's attention flickered back to Jenna. She noted the uncertainty in Jenna's eyes juxtaposed with an inquisitive curiosity. The realization hit her this was not merely a moment to redefine how others perceived her but also a chance to refine her own understanding of the past. Could she confront the insecurities that had haunted her alongside Jenna, or was this the moment to redefine who Lucy was, to her and herself? "Tell us more. What do these colors mean?" A girl chimed in, interrupting Lucy's thoughts. The other girls nodded in agreement, leaning in closer, their collective attention reinforcing Lucy's growing sense of purpose. And then Jenna stepped forward. The crowd parted slightly, and the weight of her presence felt heavier now than it did in their youth. "Lucy, it's really impressive," she said, the timbre of her voice a mix of nostalgia and tentative admiration. "You've really grown." With Jenna's words, Lucy felt the ground beneath her shift again. There lay the opportunity for connection, perhaps even a healing of old wounds. "Thank you, Jenna. I've worked hard. It's not just colors and shapes for me. Each brushstroke holds a memory, a feeling." She glanced around, gauging everyone's expressions. Sometimes it reflects pain, sometimes joy, but it's all real. A flicker of surprise darted across Jenna's face, replaced by encouragement. "Can you show us a piece that carries a strong story?" Inhaling deeply, Lucy felt an urge to reveal something profound. "I can." She motioned toward one of her larger canvases. "This one is about loneliness. I mixed dark hues with sharp strokes because it's chaotic." She paused, weighing her next words carefully. "I wanted to show that even in darkness, there is a flicker of light, an ebb and flow of hope." The crowd fell silent, truly considering her words. Their earlier jeers faded away like distant echoes, replaced by a palpable admiration. Lucy saw in their faces the transformation that took place whenever vulnerability met authenticity. Yet with every stroke of empowerment came the creeping shadows of doubt, threatening to encroach upon her moment. What if they returned to being dismissive? What if they couldn't see beyond her past? Lucy shook her head, internally scolding herself for slipping back into insecurity. This was her moment, a moment forged in bravery and tenacity. As she finished her explanation, she locked eyes with Jenna once more, silently challenging her to reveal what lay hidden behind their shared history. Would Jenna echo the support she felt now, or would the tides of their past bring back echoes of hurt? The challenge was no longer external. Lucy felt the weight of introspection pulling her into a deeper examination of her own self-worth. Realization washed over her like a gentle tide. This was about more than just art. This was an exploration of her path, facing her fears head-on, and embodying the courage she had cultivated. "Let us talk," Lucy finally said to Jenna, her tone steady with newfound certainty. "About everything." But before she could brace for Jenna's response, storm clouds rolled in overhead, casting the room in sudden shadows, a symbolic reflection of the inner turmoil that still lay ahead. What truths would unfold next in this unexpected reunion? Lucy's heart pounded as she processed her own words. About everything. The finality of that statement echoed, reverberating through her facade of confidence. What if they spoke of the past, those moments buried under layers of forgotten emotions? What if those memories threatened to ripple through her newfound stability like a stone cast into still waters? Her gaze darted back to Jenna, whose expression hovered between apprehension and understanding. For a moment, Lucy wrestled with an urge to step back, to retreat into the absence of vulnerability. But the steady way Jenna held her eyes anchored Lucy's resolve. This was a conversation that had to happen. It might be messy, but it would also be essential. As Jenna opened her mouth to respond, the room around them erupted with the sounds of chatter and laughter from other guests who remained oblivious to the tension. It was as if the vibrant colors of Lucy's paintings had brought forth a collage of emotions, while the storm clouds above threatened to pour down contrast and chaos. She felt the duality, her art inviting connection but her past complicating it. "Can we step outside?" Lucy suggested, the vulnerability in her tone surprising even herself. The thought of unearthing their history under the raw open air felt daunting yet liberating. A nod of agreement from Jenna pulled Lucy back into an external focus. The two moved to a quieter space, a small terrace overlooking a garden drenched in sunlight. The brightness felt surreal, almost mocking in its ease. Lucy's thoughts raced. "It's strange, isn't it? To be back here after all these years." She began, careful to keep her voice steady. Jenna leaned against the railing, her gaze directed outward. "Yeah. It's both comforting and uncomfortable." She hesitated, words caught in her throat. "I didn't expect you to become this." A hand gestured vaguely at the canvas-filled space behind them. "What did you expect?" Lucy asked, pushing against an urge to sound defensive. It opened a door Alice had wanted to close. The challenge hung between them, inviting an honest exploration. "Honestly? I thought you'd still be, I don't know." The quiet girl who felt invisible. A knife of discomfort pierced through Lucy's chest. Jenna's perception ignited a flicker of rage, one she couldn't easily dismiss. "That's the thing, Jenna. I believed that for so long myself. But none of us are what we appear to be. Not then, not now." The silence that followed felt charged. Lucy's heart leaped as she considered the honesty spilling from her lips. Would Jenna understand the years of growth and struggle woven through her identity? Would she confront the shadows of their shared history, how Lucy had often tried to hide instead of shine? "I wish I could have known you were feeling that way," Jenna finally spoke, her voice tinged with a mixture of regret and empathy. Lucy felt a swell of empathy toward Jenna, understanding now that her old friend had her own battles. "I didn't know how to talk about it. And sometimes, it still feels like I can't. I fought hard to escape the shadows. My art became my lifeline." "Then why don't you show me the real Lucy?" Jenna asked softly, the openness in her tone drawing Lucy closer instead of pushing her away. "Let us start anew. Together." The very idea of starting anew danced provocatively with her. Could Lucy redefine not just her relationship with Jenna but with herself in the process? The spark of determination burned a path through her anxiety. As the wind shifted, Lucy noticed the storm clouds above had begun to fade, yielding to rays of golden light. It mirrored her shifting mindset. "Okay," she finally replied, her voice steadier than before. But it's not going to be easy. Just as Lucy began to feel the weight of liberation expand in her chest, a nearby clap of thunder resonated, low and thunderous, serving as a stark reminder that her journey was far from complete. Would they be able to face the shadows together? Or would confronting their shared past unveil deeper fears than either had anticipated? The openness of the moment hinted at vulnerability's power, but lurked the potential for complex revelations looming on the horizon. Lucy stood at the edge of the terrace, her gaze drifting over the garden that burst with life and color. Each blossom reflected the vibrant palette of her art, yet felt detached from the dissonance churning inside her. Her mind circled back to Jenna's words, "Let us start anew." It resonated deep within, igniting a flicker of fear mixed with hope. Starting anew seemed almost insurmountable. "Show me the real Lucy," Jenna had said. But who was that? The artist wielding a brush with passion? Or the girl still tethered to old wounds? This tug-of-war within her psyche raged, and each snap of the internal conflict sent ripples through her sense of self. As the bright sunlight cascaded down, illuminating the terrace, she felt coaxed by its warmth, a counterbalance to the clouds skirting in her mind. "Okay, let us do it." The words fell from her lips, both affirming and terrifying. Vulnerability felt like standing naked under a spotlight. What if she revealed too much? What if those shadows threatened to consume her again? Jenna's eyes widened slightly, a guide into a realm of understanding Lucy had long denied herself. "What do you want to share?" The question hung between them, beckoning her to peel back the layers so meticulously constructed over the years. "I want you to see what my art has meant to me, what it represents. It isn't just paint on a canvas. It's survival, it's struggle. I wasn't invisible, I was hidden, in plain sight." As these admissions fled her mouth, Lucy felt a surge of adrenaline and decision echoing through her veins. The act of articulating her journey was an exercise in reclamation. A personal truth exposed. "But there are parts of me that even I'd pushed aside," she continued, maintaining eye contact with Jenna. "I've trained for years not just to paint but to process everything that has happened. It's like fighting a war where I'm against both external judgments and my own insecurities." Jenna nodded, the depth of her understanding evident. "I wish I had seen the signs. I'm sorry for not being there when you might have needed me. You carry so much." As Lucy leaned onto the railing, she could feel a weight lightening, a cascade of emotions straining against the previous constraints. This bridge of communication was forging a path toward a new chapter. "Let us share our stories," Lucy proposed, the words carefully considered. "I'll show you my real self, but I need you to be open too. Can you do that?" The question bore an intensity, revealing the immensity of trust required on both sides. "I am ready," Jenna replied, determination threading her voice. "I'll go first. I've struggled too, you know. We all wear masks, even when there's a willingness to connect." Lucy's chest tightened, the prospect of vulnerability felt electrifying. As Jenna began speaking, a suspense bloomed within her. What truths lay buried in Jenna's past, and how would their histories intertwine? But amidst this new dialogue, a tickle of doubt crept in. Would their revelations unlink the chains holding onto old resentments, or would they dredge up scars that needed to remain buried? Just as Jenna's voice began to resonate, the weather shifted again. A brisk gust of wind swept across the terrace, shaking the branches of the nearby trees and drawing their attention skyward. Dark clouds began to assemble, threatening yet another storm. The tension between the need for connection and the fear of revelation hung heavy in the air. As they faced the gathering storm, Lucy realized that sometimes storms had to precede the blooming that came after. Would they emerge from this confrontation to face the sun once more? "Let us hold on tight," she said, the words now imbued with a sense of challenge. "The time has come to face everything together." And with that determination, an unexpected thunderclap shattered the tense anticipation, echoing the unease of uncertainties yet to come. As the thunder cracked overhead, Lucy felt a flicker of apprehension combined with an unmistakable thrill. Nature's raw power matched the turmoil inside her. Jenna's tentative voice turned into a lifeline, drawing her back from the brink of uncertainty. She could sense Jenna's own vulnerability, matching her own as if they were two artists facing a blank canvas, unsure of how to wield the brushes of their past. "All right," Jenna began, her family history unfolding like a delicate tapestry. Each thread bore the weight of years that intertwined tragic events with flickers of warmth and resilience. Lucy listened intently, parsing through emotions laid bare. "I grew up in a family that seemed perfect on the outside," Jenna said. "But my parents never really saw me. They were too caught up in their own struggles. I was just, there. Invisible." Those words struck Lucy like a chord resonating through her core. The resonance echoed in her life as well. How often had she felt hidden, yet surrounded by colorful distractions? Jenna continued, her voice recovering strength as she conveyed pivotal moments, a time when a school play had been her shining moment but had turned into a stark realization of loneliness when the applause faded. "It felt like my existence depended on my ability to please others. The surface self that I've shown to everyone has concealed so much pain." Lucy shifted, fidgeting slightly. Jenna's confession laid bare how deeply their pasts echoed. Both had fought battles against invisibility, seeking validation in ways that had ultimately clouded their identities. As Jenna spoke, Lucy could feel the light within her own fears flickering, the embers of her artistic soul waiting to be reignited. Together, Jenna's voice trembled with sincerity, "Let us create something new. Not just our stories, but, what if our art could reflect who we really are?" Suddenly, the air around them felt charged not just by the impending storm, but by the potential blossoming between them. The prospect of creating art rooted in their truths both excited and terrified Lucy. She envisioned canvases painted with vulnerability rather than merely artistic skill. Would this newfound collaboration allow both of them to emerge more authentic? Yet, there was part of her still hesitating. The shadows of self-doubt clawed at her ankles, whispering warnings of failure, judgment, and the risk of further exposing herself. "But what if our true selves aren't well received?" she questioned softly. "We can't control how others perceive our growth," Jenna replied. "But we owe it to ourselves to try. The time for hiding is over." The thunder rumbled again but felt less threatening this time. It was a reminder of the storm raging not just outside, but within, a storm that needed releasing. In that moment, Lucy contemplated her next steps. Could she be brave enough to combine their histories into something transformative? The looming storm outside began to sprinkle light raindrops, and instead of feeling reminded of fear, Lucy felt a tingling sense of freedom. The air thickened with possibilities, and the way forward appeared clearer for the first time in a long while. "Let us do it," Lucy stated, her voice gaining clarity and purpose. "Let us break free from the shadows and paint the truth." But as the rain picked up, a loud crack of lightning lit up the sky, almost seeming to signal a warning. Would they truly be prepared to face whatever came next in their artistic journey? With their proper resolve, Lucy turned to Jenna, and she knew they were about to embark on a path neither fully understood. "Only if we're both ready to risk it all," Lucy added, feeling the exhilaration surge anew, wanting to break the chains of discomfort. The storm outside echoed her inner conflict, a vivid backdrop to a journey she was still unsure she was ready for. Little did they know, their next brush strokes would carve deeper into their lives, unraveling not only their artistry but the latent strength each held inside. What awaited them on this unpredictable path of discovery? Would the young artist finally step into the light, or would the past prove too suffocating once more? The rain crescendoed, an orchestra of droplets tapping against the roof, mirroring the tumultuous emotions swirling within Lucy. She stood at the precipice of something unknown, the electrifying possibility of a fresh start igniting within her. But with that spark came the weight of apprehension. The idea of revealing their true selves felt monumental, like standing on a tightrope without a safety net. Jenna's eyes shone with a fierce determination, drawing Lucy to confront her own fears. "We're taking the first step into the light," Jenna urged, softening her expression with an encouragement that felt both genuine and firm. Let us start with a piece that embodies our story's real, raw. We'll show the world what it's like to be honestly ourselves. The notion of sharing their vulnerabilities transformed the dream into a reality that made Lucy's heart race. What would it look like to channel their pain and resilience onto canvas? The colors would have to bleed their truths, the muted tones of heartache contrasted against bold strokes of newfound strength. The idea was intoxicating, yet her mind wrestled with images of past failures and fears of judgment. "Okay," Lucy finally replied, her voice steadier than she felt. "But we need to go deep. No surface-level stuff." Jenna nodded enthusiastically, her excitement contagious. "Exactly. Let us dig into our memories. Not just the bad, but the moments when we fought through the gloom, the sparks of joy that kept us afloat." A small part of Lucy's heart swelled with a sense of camaraderie. They were two artists about to embark on a daring journey, and for the first time, she felt a flicker of confidence. Yet the shadows lingered. Each memory they would unearth would carry the weight of emotion long buried. The rain began to thin, a soft patter now, and as they moved to Jenna's studio, Lucy felt the atmosphere shift. Inspired by the shared purpose, she could almost visualize their collaboration, a tapestry woven with their experiences, transforming pain into beauty. What if she could uncover the hidden confidence within herself? As they gathered supplies, their laughter filled the air, a sound that felt both liberating and energizing. But with every chuckle came a twinge of unease, the openness of self-exposure clawed at her. They talked about their visions, but Lucy wondered if she could truly dive into the unknown when it meant revealing the darkest corners of her heart. "Let it bubble up," Jenna's voice broke through her thoughts, firm yet gentle. "Trust the process, Lucy. Art isn't meant to be pretty, it's meant to be real. We're armed with our stories, let us wield them." That phrase echoed in Lucy's mind, resonating with a sense of urgency. Armed. She hadn't thought of her history that way before. Instead of viewing her past as a burden, what if she embraced it as her mightiest weapon? She took a deep breath, casting her doubts aside for just a moment. Jenna's vibrant energy ignited something deep within her, forcing her to question the narrative she fed herself. "Fine," she decided, the words coming out bolder than intended. "I'll expose myself. No holding back." Lucy felt the liberation of her statement wash over her, and for the first time, fear morphed into determination. As they assembled their canvases, she started formulating an idea. It would be a colorful storm against a dark background, each swirl representing the chaos of a vulnerable heart aching for acknowledgement. What awaited her would require her to face the ghosts of her past. But the possibility of releasing those burdens through art became a siren's call, impossible to resist. The studio filled with paint and purpose, yet with the storm outside finally subsiding, a new storm brewed within, one of conflicting excitement and fear of exposure. With every brush stroke, she teetered on the edge of vulnerability and power. "Are we really ready for this?" Lucy murmured, her fingers hesitating over the canvas. "We're ready to imagine something new," Jenna replied, eyes sparkling with anticipation. "Let us finish today with one truth we've uncovered about ourselves." Lucy's heart raced. This decision wasn't just a test of creativity but of courage. As she plunged into her memories for that raw piece of herself to express, the air around them felt charged once again. What truth would she dare to unveil, and would it transform not just their art, but themselves as well? In that moment of tension, she realized something pivotal. The art they created wouldn't merely serve as a reflection, it could be a transformative mirror, one that would hold her accountable to her growth. But would she have the courage to embrace the reflections that stared back at her? Just as she prepared to paint her truth, the door creaked open, and the world beyond beckoned them once more. What awaited them on this uncertain path, and would they find the strength to confront their deepest fears and ultimately themselves? Lucy's fingers trembled lightly as they hovered just above the canvas, their shared energy echoing Jenna's words. Art as a reflection, the details blossoming within her mind. It was intoxicating. Yet, as she visualized the strokes, that familiar fear crept in, casting shadows on her newfound resolve. What if her truth was too raw, too unsettling to present? The memories that raced to the surface were not just mere recollections, they were burdens she had carried, weighted chains wrapped tightly around her. Each one begged to be released, but how to decide which would define her newfound journey? Lucy. Jenna's voice nudged her, a soft reminder from the world swirling outside their studio. What truth are you willing to share? The question hung in the air, a delicate thread ready to snap under pressure. Memories flickered before her eyes, the lonely nights where her dreams melted into tears, the days she wore a smile like armor, and the internal battles fought in silence. They were pieces of her that had shaped her, yet they felt like liabilities now. Could such vulnerability really be painted into something beautiful? Taking a deep breath, she attempted to gather her scattered thoughts. I think I want to explore the moment when I felt utterly invisible, she confessed, her voice barely a whisper. I was 10, at a birthday party. Everyone else was laughing, dancing, but I just stood there, lost. She could almost feel the weight of those memories pressing down on her chest. A little girl with untamed dreams and golden curls, standing on the sidelines, longing for connection. Do you remember what it felt like? Jenna prompted, her expression encouraging. Lucy nodded slowly, her heart racing as the memory unfolded. I remember thinking no one saw me, that I didn't belong. But then, I found a quiet corner where I painted a little rock. For a moment, it felt like I had a voice through art. Jenna's eyes widened, absorbing Lucy's revelation. That's powerful. You found expression in isolation. Transform that feeling. How did the art change your perception? Lucy considered this as she lifted her brush, the vibrant colors bursting forth from the palette. She started with dark hues, swirling them together like the storm brewing within. Each stroke represented the loneliness she felt, mingling with strokes of vibrant yellows and greens, remnants of her hidden dreams. With each passing moment, her memories morphed into forms on the canvas, whispering the power of her voice hidden within despair. The more she painted, the more she felt a cathartic release. The storm within her began to calm as the art took shape, like a long-lost friend beckoning her. Look at that! Jenna exclaimed, captivated by the evolution of Lucy's work. That darkness is your past, but those colors, those are the joy and hope you've captured. Remember, you're not just painting a memory, you're redefining it. Her encouragement lit a spark within Lucy, igniting a quiet determination. Every swirl of color held a layer of her experience, a testimony of survival. What began in shadows flourished into vibrancy, each brushstroke a declaration of strength against fragility. But just as momentum swelled within her, doubt began to creep back. What would others think of this raw portrayal of her pain? Would they understand that this was not mere art, it was a lifeline? The ghosts lurked still, challenging her resolve to be seen. Keep going, Jenna urged, sensing Lucy's hesitation. This is your moment to transform fear into power. Let them see the little girl who painted herself into existence. Lucy paused, her heart echoing in her chest. She was on the brink of something immense, standing at the threshold of vulnerability that could lead to profound growth. Okay, she whispered, reviving her conviction. I'll expose my fears, my truths. Let us see where it leads. With renewed spirit, she drove her brush into the canvas with fervor, each stroke carving a space for hope amidst the storm. Yet just as she was beginning to believe she could wield her artistic voice against past fears, the studio door swung open, and a familiar face stepped inside. Tom, an old friend from her childhood, stepped into the vibrant chaos. The very presence of him stirred anxieties. Did he know the girl who felt invisible all those years ago? What judgment would he carry, what memories would bubble to the surface? Lucy's breath caught in her throat, as a new storm brewed, a collision of past and present. How could she confront the very essence of what she was revealing while grappling with her insecurities? Would he see the evolution, or merely the girl she once was? The air thickened with uncertainty as she held her breath, her journey leading to this intersection of courage and fear. Would Lucy find the strength to embrace this confrontation, or would it unravel her newfound resolve? As Tom stepped inside, Lucy felt every fiber of her being tauten. The familiarity sparked a whirlwind of emotions. She was painfully aware of the vulnerability she was cultivating in her art. Would he reduce the depth of her journey to a mere nostalgia of the past? "Hey, Lucy," Tom greeted, surprised by the vibrant artistry around him. He glanced at Jenna, then back at her, curiosity dancing in his eyes. "Wow, this is incredible. I never knew you were this talented." His words, though kind, ignited a flicker of doubt. Would he see the layers of hardship stitched into her pieces, the battles fought silently behind canvas and color? "Thanks," Lucy replied, her voice wavering, uncertainty splitting through the confidence she had built. "I'm just exploring some feelings." "Feelings?" Tom raised an eyebrow, his casual demeanor shifting to an intrigued one as he moved closer to her painting, examining the swirling colors. "What are you trying to say with all of this?" The question sliced through her defenses like a razor's edge. She had started this journey to share herself, yet now faced the intimidating prospect of articulating that depth. Here was her chance to exhibit her growth, to show how profoundly she had evolved. Steeling herself, Lucy took a deep breath. "This piece reflects a time when I felt invisible, lost at a birthday party a long time ago. Art became my way of finding a voice." Tom's attention sharpened, the jay of recognition flickering in his eyes. "I remember that party. You were quiet, always painting in the corners, while everyone else ran around." The old echo threatened to disarm her. Would he paint her as the timid girl still hiding behind her art, or see the strength she had materialized since then? "I was hiding," Lucy continued, her voice now laced with conviction. "But art became my outlet, and over time I learned that what felt like weakness, those hidden corners, are where my greatest strength lies." Tom's expression shifted, reflecting understanding rather than pity. "It's so powerful to see how you've transformed that vulnerability into something beautiful. I didn't realize you felt that way." Encouraged by his sincerity, Lucy glanced to Jenna. "That's why it matters to me. My art is not just expression, it's survival. It's finding joy within pain." Jenna nodded, chiming in. "And we're here to own that journey. Every layer reflects growth, every stroke tells a story. We're turning past shadows into brilliance." "Wow," Tom breathed, taking a step back to appreciate the canvas anew. "I guess I never saw you that way. I always thought you were just shy. You're not just a painter, you're an artist full of depth." The tension in Lucy's chest began to dissipate. Through their conversation, she felt the barriers she constructed begin to fade. Tom saw her. He really saw her. This realization served as a pivotal turning point for her spirit, this acknowledgement from someone who once viewed her only through the lens of her past. "Thank you, Tom," she said earnestly. "That means a lot. This art connects with me in ways I've only begun to understand." Driven by that connection, a new confidence took root as Lucy lifted her brush again, adding strokes with an energy fueled by the encounter. With each movement, she felt more empowered, as if she were painting over not just the canvas, but also the judgments she once feared. Tom's presence breathed life into her work, his recognition transformed the atmosphere, turning reflections of doubt into affirmations of possibility. "Can I try?" Tom asked, breaking her reverie. "I mean, if you don't mind." "Of course." Lucy smiled, inviting him closer to the canvas. What started as an encounter steeped in uncertainty now felt vibrant with connection. Tom took the brush and started expressing himself on the canvas alongside her. Laughter emerged, that childlike joy they once shared shifting from hollow memories to a tangible present. Time slipped away as they painted together, the world beyond the studio faded, and the rain outside turned to a gentle patter. With every stroke, Lucy was reminded of her journey. Through connection, she had feared being exposed, instead, she found camaraderie. Their artistry filtered through their history, turning their shadows into something stunning. As the sun broke through the clouds, casting beams of warmth into the studio, Lucy felt triumph thrumming through her veins. She had conquered not only her self-doubt but also the fears that bound her to her past. The emotional weight lifted, leaving only lightness. "Hey, this is a lot of fun," Tom said, his excitement echoing her own. "That's what it's about," Jenna added, her voice bright with laughter. In that moment, Lucy understood, she had achieved something greater than recognition, she had embraced her truth. She was no longer the invisible girl, she was a powerful artist claiming her space, completely unmasked and ready to inspire others. As they stepped back to admire their combined creation, Lucy's heart swelled with pride. "We did this together." The essence of their collaboration stood as testament to the strength they had within, the past transformed into a dynamic present filled with potential. "Let us keep creating," Lucy suggested. "Let us keep shedding our shadows." And with that declaration, the air within the studio shimmered with promise. The challenges ahead would only fortify her resilience. She stepped forward, finally owning the title of artist, a recognition discovered through vulnerability and local support. Lucy emerged from this journey not only transformed but imbued with unwavering confidence. She realized she had achieved remarkable growth, the shadows of her past morphing into a vibrant canvas painted with truth, connection, and unyielding strength. The raindrops outside ceased, and wherever they landed, they carried seeds of inspiration towards new beginnings. Lucy chose to embrace her story, and in doing so, she inspired others to find their own power. The moment stood still, she had finally conquered the storm within, arriving at a place of acceptance. And she knew, deep down, this was just the beginning. Now, it's your turn. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm you need to show your support. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Let your voice be heard. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the significance of these actions.